Good evening. We're going to go ahead and call to order this meeting of the Anderson Township Zoning Commission. It's Monday, February 24th, 2014. We have 5 items on the agenda tonight, and we're going to begin with approval of the agenda. Harry, thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Second.
Make approval for the minutes as amended.
Let's go ahead and let's do a vote on that first one. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Second item, 4 of us are here. Jonathan, you and Harry and I were here. Christine's not here yet, but we have a quorum. A motion to approve the minutes from November 25th.
I just have one note on page 6. It says, Mr. Kitzmiller stated that he feels they have adequate ingress egress, and they have not, and they have noted the best location. I think it was they have not decided on the best location.
Okay. Agreeable?
With that, I'll make
Okay,
a motion.
motion to approve with that amendment.
Second?
Second, thank you, Harry. All in favor? Aye.
And I'm going to abstain on that because I was not at that meeting.
Let's go ahead and do a roll call. Get that abstention.
Mr. Gothard?
Aye.
Mr. Heskamp?
Yes.
Ms. McBride?
I'm going to abstain.
And I'll say yes. Thank you. Third is our organizational meeting here in February to elect officers for calendar year 2014. We've had, I guess, conversation amongst the board members, and Ann McBride and I are willing to serve as your officers. I as chairman, Ann as vice chairman, with the approval of the board
I'll make
members.
that motion.
Is that a motion? Thank you, Harry. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Fine.
Me.
Item 4 is case number 1-2013, and this is a, it should be 2014, yep. Request for a zone change from ID industrial development to AA residential for about 14 acres on 4302 Mount Carmel Road. Staff report?
Yes, the applicants are Jack and Loretta Gordon, who are the property owners. The location, again, as Mr. Chairman stated, is at 4302 Mount Carmel Road. The current zoning is ID industrial development, and there is a little sliver of AA, which is single-family residence. The request is to change the entire property back or to AA single-family residence. There's a little over 14 acres of the site. It has no frontage on Mount Carmel Road, and the existing use is it's vacant or agricultural land. The surrounding conditions, this is the Hamilton-Claremont County line, and then this is Mount Carmel Road running north-south. The property in question, this yellow area is zoned AA, which is single family, and the purple area is zoned ID industrial development. This is the Gordon's residence, and this is an accessory structure. Back in 1987, when the township zoning was originally adopted in 1987 from Hamilton County, the property was actually Zone G, which is heavy industrial. And then with the study of the Angkor area and the adoption of the Angkor land use plan in 1994, the property was then changed to ID, which is industrial development. And then in 1997, that is when the applicants purchased the property and requested the zone change from ID to AA in order for them to construct their residence. The rest of their property, which is somewhat hard to see, follows this general footprint, and this is the property in which they're requesting the zone change. This is an aerial view, again, Mount Carmel Road. The property has no frontage on Mount Carmel, it's just access via private drive. Again, it's hard to see with the aerial, but this is the residence, and then this is an accessory structure along with the rest of the property, which is industrial. As far as agency reports, well, let me back up. The Hamilton County Regional Planning Commission did hear this case on February the 6th, 2014, and the Regional Planning Commission recommended the zone change with no conditions. From agency reports, we did receive correspondence from the county engineer's office. that right-of-way should be dedicated, but then reconfirming with him that the property had no frontage on Mount Carmel Road. They would withdraw that request, obviously. Again, most of the agency reports had no opposition to the zone change. There are no objections. There is no final development plan because it is as-built, and the applicant currently has no plans for the property just to remain vacant or agriculture and use it as such. These are the site photos. Again, it's a little difficult to tell exactly which is what, but this is standing from the property looking back toward Mount Carmel Road. But as you can see, the nature of the property, kind of in the snow. These are the agency reports. So findings with the comprehensive plan and then the recently adopted Anchor plan. These are the findings that staff felt that the zone change was consistent with the comprehensive plan. It encourages activities that will ensure the maintenance and upkeep of the existing housing stock and housing in neighborhoods. Land use and development will help preserve agricultural uses in the township. With the Anchor plan, which was recently adopted in 2013, it identified the area as transitional residence. And if you look, we don't have this actually on the PowerPoint, but if you look at the rear of your staff summary, the Anchor area land use update, the idea with identifying this area as transitional residence was in Claremont County, there are single-family residences that are fairly large lot sites. As you come down the hill into the township, you still have that carryover, but then you get into the industrial area. So the thinking with the Anchor land use plan was that area would be a transition from the less dense housing in Claremont County into the industrial area in the township. Also, there were several caveats. If passenger rail were to come through the Anchor area, this would be the southern end of a possible transit stop at Mount Carmel and Round Bottom Road. So a lot of that was dependent upon, the outcome of the passenger rail. However, in the interim, this is a step from that direction from industrial to residential.
Alive in this room that'll be yours.
Well, you never know. So that's that was why this area was identified for transitional residence. And so what they're wanting to use the property for is consistent with that recommendation. So as far as staff recommendation is to approve the zone change because of the following reasons. And again, there were no conditions, obviously, because it's not a planned district. It's just a zone change to a straight letter zoning district. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay. Any questions from zoning commission?
I just had one, Paul. So the Anchor plan recommends it as transitional residential, which I would typically think of maybe as something between that single family and the adjacent industrial, so maybe a higher density. The thought that the AA provides that transition.
It doesn't provide that transition. It doesn't meet that definition. However, it is at least moving into that direction in the interim. We're moving from at least an industrial zoning district, which doesn't allow residents at all, to a residence zoning district. But it's hard to. The transitional residence would be long-term down the road. So
this is kind of seen
it's
as incremental steps.
It's incremental steps, I guess. That's probably yes.
Okay, I just
yes.
wanted to.
Anything else, Ann? No. Harry, any questions?
Nope.
Jonathan?
I have no questions.
No questions. This time, we'll permit the applicant to step forward and make any comments or remarks if they like to either microphone.
Happy to answer questions, but I have no really comments.
No questions. Anybody otherwise would like to make any comments regarding this application? Sir, come on up and just give us your name and address. Thank you.
My name is Mark Schmidt, and I own the property at 4320 Mount Carmel, which is just to the east of the property in question, maybe a parcel between us. And the questions that I would have would relate to timing and how what time would this change take effect? Is this something that would be immediately?
Well, the next step after this meeting is a hearing before our Board of Township Trustees, which, depending on the outcome of this meeting, could be as early as the third Thursday of March, which I don't know the exact date. If the trustees were to approve it, then there would be a 30-day grace period and the zoning would go into effect. March the 21st would be the trustees' meeting, if they heard it on that day.
And then 30 days post that date?
Right, and then, the process of recording the zone change, and then it would go into effect.
Okay. When I bought that property, that was all zoned ID, and there was the promise of, and I say promise loosely, not that it was some promise made by the township, but that there was intent to bring storm sewer, sanitary sewer into that area. And I had anticipated that there would be neighbors, commercial neighbors, in that time frame. And there hasn't been any development. The Park District put a stop to the sanitary sewers coming through at the point of the Riverside Park, and so that has reduced the ability, I think, for the township to extend sanitary into that area. And my concern is that the encroachment of residential zoning will reduce my ability to fulfill the value of the property as a commercial piece of property. And it is a concern, whether it's validated or not. I'm not here to make that case, but I am concerned about it, and wonder what your view is on the impact of this transitional and then conversion to residential will do to the commercial values.
I guess from the chair's seat to answer that question about the values is difficult with the information we have in front of us. What we're driven by here with these zoning cases in part is the recommendations of those land use plans. And I would refer you back to those land use plans to try to make some of those determinations. As the staff has reported, we're trying to make this zoning case consistent with what that Anchor plan says, which is this residential land use. So, I just offer that as a comment back to you.
Does the township have any plans to bring the sanitary and the sewer system in, or any other utilities, for any residential or commercial?
Yeah, I can't answer that question.
No, I'd be happy to answer that
Go ahead,
question.
Paul.
Sure. The township has been working with MSD. It is MSD's project to get the easements to bring the sewer down into that area, and the township has been a strong supporter of that and has been assisting MSD, if necessary, to work with some of the property owners. So, yes, the plan is to still bring the sewer line down Broadwell to about, not just past Pavestone, and so long-term, though, it has not been over to Mount Carmel.
Well, that's my concern, would just be the, I'd like to see the commercial develop as it's been commercial before the residential developed. That if they were done in an ideal way where they were a commercial property develop a residential property, we've seen the fights in this area over the competition between commercial and residential. And, it appears from a certain perspective that the preference is to residential, and that has an adverse effect on the values of the commercial property. I'm the sole commercial property owner down there that has developed the property. So I put the stake down. I took the bet that this was going to be developed, and to the degree that you've gotten to the park with sanitary in 10 years, it has. But it's going to be another 10 years before it comes to Mount Carmel. And will the residential zoning affect the ability for me to resell that property as commercial property? Those are the questions that I would raise. Thank you.
Anyone else here tonight to make comments?
My name is Doug Evans, and it's 4229 Round Bottom Road. Paul, can you pull back the little, yeah, that one right there, thank you. I'm not against Jack nor his wife. They've been great neighbors up there, and I think, you know, what they're trying to do is adamant and the right probably thing for their concern. The biggest thing that I kind of thought about, and the area is in transition, no questions about it, okay? And Mark, his place is right in the middle of everything that I own, which, you know, either there on the other side of the road or whatever, we have over 600 acres, give or take, through there. Mr. Gratz has 50 or 60, and then the Gordons have the rest. And for the most part, everybody gets along pretty good over there. And that line that's drawn, the Claremont/Hampton County line, is more or less right through the buildings. The 6 buildings that you see, those are that I have that were old farm buildings, and we tore 3 of them down, put 3 new ones up, and we fixed the other 3, so now I got a nice piece of property there. And you know, it's always had landscapers in there and a couple other, you know, a saw cutting guy or something. It's just small little things that we try to do in there. That's always been done in that property. And I hate for those people to have too many neighbors around there complain about what time they come in and what time they go out, because you guys really don't have a say what that is, because it's in Claremont County, you know, and it's kind of a little touchy through there. Now, if I could take Mark, you know, no disrespect to you, and take you and move you to the other side of the road and have everything from the road this way residential, that would probably be a good plan. But that takes a little bit of time to get those things worked out, because I've been assembling these properties for, I don't know, 20 or some years to try to get it the right way. And I liked somebody else's question before. They said, does whatever you're trying to change it to, just single-family residence, or does that mean condos, apartments, and whatever else it could be? I don't know. I mean, that's one of the things, because Mr. Gordon might put 2 or 3 5-acre lots and have beautiful houses that are in there. And the next guy that I either sell mine to or do it, whatever, he might want to put some apartments or put some condos or something else in there, because it might all be, you know, if Mark, whatever, it might be something that might be a little bit more, you know, it'd still be residence, but it might not be exactly what Mr. Gordon wants. I don't know. You know, I'm not opposed to people living there. I think it's great. I like to move down there sometime myself, but naturally, you always want to make sure you're doing the right thing. And it almost should be like a planned unit development, the whole area, where he could have a little point of what I want to do or have somebody do. And you know, because I'd hate to, you know, he's more or less the first person that's succeeding from the union based on those colors of those 2 things. I mean, you know, and I'm not against his plan whatsoever. I think it's admirable, and putting it back in agriculture, putting houses is, you know, not the wrong thing to do. It's just a matter, it might be time to do a little planning for everybody's concern. One of the issues is the driveway comes up between the yellow and the pink, and then it turns left and goes up. In the driveway, we always take care of it pretty much, but for some reason I wasn't around all the time. Well, then I guess it got taken care of before, right, when I wasn't there, you know, a little bit. I mean, Mark takes some of it, you know, and then everybody kind of help. But you know what Mark mentioned before is the biggest thing we don't have down there is sewer, but the next biggest thing is water. And then there's I think there's some need for some internet service and some other things down there everybody's been asking too, and they just think that I'm going to put it in for everybody. Well, I don't mind helping clean the driveway, but I can't put the water in and put all the stuff in on my own, you know, and that's where I think maybe the planning part of it might come into a, you know, a little bit more to try to think, well, you know, if he has his 10 or 12 acres or 14 acres that he's trying to do, you know, maybe we'll try to work with him to try to get it to the rest of us can kind of live with. And then Mark's point, I think he was trying to make, and I think he made a valid point, is, you know, the last thing you want to do is have Jack and myself and Jack all living up there, and he's got commercial use down there, and he's running the sweeper trucks or something at night. We're all trying to sleep or something, which, you know, that's a point too, not to say that we work at night, but, you know, I mean, every once in a while you have to if it snows or something like that, but, you know, if somebody says, well, you're for it or against it, I'm for his, in principle, I'm for his thing. Now, can we go and plan for it a little bit better and try to get everybody on board and know the whole deal about the road that's shared by everybody, know where the water might go for fire plugs, and try to do those things just to get it so we can kind of transition this. And then, you know, somebody mentioned the point, if the light rail does come, that's a whole nother avenue of discussion. And then if the mine goes through, that's a big another area of discussion also, that we don't have the keys to any of that stuff. But, you know, there's definitely, you know, things it can do. And one of the things we talked in some of the ANCOR meetings is everything to the east of Mount Carmel Road could be some type of housing, something, and everything on the west side of Mount Carmel Road could be small light industrial buildings or other types of things, except Mark's place is in the middle, you know. And my hat's off to Jack, because his business is down there too, and he runs, or used to be, I guess. So, you know, that's a thing. I mean, everybody wants to be close to where they work, but the guy that's living there might not really like you run your business there, you know. So there's just different points to kind of look at, and, you know, I mean, I'll rest my say for that, but, you know, a little bit of planning might go a long way through the whole area based on the people that have the land down there, not a bunch of people that really don't have the say in it. We need to talk to the landholders and the stakeholders to get what he might want, and maybe get some fire protection and some sewer and some different things that might help him succeed on his deal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think I need to get this back on track.
Yeah, just quickly, please.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I'm not trying to do anything on this land, single-family versus multifamily housing. We went through all of these discussions when we did the long-term plan for ANCOR area.
Okay.
That long-term plan clearly says that the land up the hill, not on Mount Carmel, which is at this level, but you go up about 20 feet and you're on a plateau, and that's where my land is.
Okay.
It's on the other side of a creek and a wood line from this common road. Okay?
All right.
There's nothing in my land that should affect anybody else. We went through the issues with the engineers up at Hamilton County about the fact that some of the land on the east of me is still going to be zoned industrial, because Mr. Gratch hasn't decided to rezone his section of land, or has dug a small little triangle. But they have access. It's already been granted, and it's grandfathered in. So nothing I'm doing is affecting anybody but me.
Thank you, Mr. Ward.
And we want to get this, and we have no plans right now. We just want to get it rezoned while the township has said this should be housing. I want to get rezoned housing now.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, comments? Go ahead, sir.
My name's John Gratch. I reside at 4304 Mount Carmel Road, just to the northeast of, north of Jack's piece in question. And I agree a lot with what Mr. Schmidt and Mr. Evans said, and they covered most of what I was thinking, but my immediate concern is more short-term. In the event Mr. Gordon were to sell, I have a piece of industrial ground right next to this residential. What impact can those neighbors have on my ability to do business? Keep what hours I need to keep there? That's
We're
a
taking
que-
comments.
You're
rather than
taking, you're
answering
not answering any
questions.
questions. Okay.
Yeah, so-
That's my concern.
Okay.
And I'm all for what Jack's doing, just doesn't meet what I want to do right now. 5 years down the road, that could change. But immediately, short term, I'd hate to think that someone could say, hey, you know, we don't like you coming in at 4 o'clock in the morning when I got to go plow snow or something, so. Very good.
Thank you. Anybody that hasn't spoken like to speak up, otherwise? Okay. Yeah, second. This is not the case, it's quasi-judicial. So we don't have to go back. Okay. Okay, no other comments, go ahead and come back to the zoning commission. Staff and I were just talking about whether this is a quasi-judicial case. It's not, it's a straight zoning case, and part of what I want to be cautious about tonight is not getting into a rebuttal back and forth with residents with statements. So I just want to go ahead and, it's not a public hearing per se, but go ahead and take comments from the zoning commission.
I have none.
Oh, I'm sorry, we are in a public hearing, so I think at this time, with no more comments, I'm going to close the public hearing and open up the discussion to the zoning commission members.
Well, I mean, I think the request is consistent with the recently updated Angkor area plan. So I think that's something the commission has to give serious weight to, that and the fact that it was only so recently updated.
So recent, yep. Thank you. Harry, anything? Jonathan?
No, I have nothing.
Okay. With that, I'll go ahead and take a motion on the case. We have a recommendation from staff for approval.
I would make a motion that we recommend to the Board of Trustees zone change case 1-2014 Anderson, that we recommend approval per the recommendation contained in the staff report.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
Jonathan, thank you. Roll call?
Mr. Gothard?
Yes.
Mr. Hesketh?
Yes.
Ms. McBride?
Yes.
Mr. Benson?
I'll vote yes. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is Case 2-2014. This is a request for a substantial modification to a final development plan for Case 2-2006. This is filed by Cynthia Williams on behalf of Black Skirt Unlimited. The applicant is requesting authorization to modify the final development plan to reflect a new office addition, as well as some changes to the parking spaces. This is a quasi-judicial hearing that we will have tonight, so I'm going to go ahead and...
No, this one's not either.
I'm sorry?
This one's not either.
Okay, that was incorrect then, the instruction. Okay, I'm sorry. So with that, we'll go ahead and, Paul, and start with the staff report.
I can explain. This is considered a substantial modification. The original zone change was from C residence to OO planned office. So the reason that it's a substantial modification is that there are some direct conflicts with the proposed addition with the original resolution that was approved for the zone change. So we are treating this almost identical to a zone change, going back through the substantial modification process. So again, the applicant is Ms. Cynthia Williams, who is the architect on behalf of Killenwees Grocer, who is the property owner under Black Skirt Unlimited LLC. The location is at 1167 8 Mile Road. And again, the request is a substantial modification from the final development plan that was originally approved in 2006, and for the proposal of the construction of 1,744 square foot addition, driveway modification, and parking lot modifications. The area in blue is the area that was rezoned in 2006 to OO planned office. This is 8 Mile Road running north-south. Beachmont Avenue is just off of the slide. This is the crossings of Anderson Shopping Center, which is zoned EE planned retail. It's this area in yellow is Zone C, which is single-family residence, although this area through here is actually access to the shopping center. There was a variance granted to allow them to do that. To the east of the property is zoned single-family, and these are single-family residences. And then on Beachmont Avenue, in the red, the majority of that is E, which is retail. This is the aerial, and again, you can see the access drive to the shopping center. When this went before the Zoning Commission and the trustees back in 2006, both properties, the property in question, 1167, and the one to the south, were rezoned together. And it was anticipated in the future that both of these properties would either be redeveloped together or simultaneously, and most of the conditions related to that, and that has not been the case. This property is wanting to move forward with improvements to their property, but the property to the south remains as a single-family residence. So that is why there's a conflict with a lot of the conditions that were originally placed on this. This is the original pancake house of pancakes. Again, the shopping center crossings of Anderson, these are all single-family residences. This is Enterprise rental car. So this is the proposed development, and north is to the right of the slide to get you oriented. So this is 8 Mile Road. Beachmont Avenue is up in this general vicinity. This is the front of the existing house, which is somewhat light, but this is the existing house. The proposed addition would be exclusively in the rear yard area. It would be the new main entrance to the business, to the office. The parking would come off of one drive now, one consolidated drive. The driveway to the south would be eliminated. Currently, the drive does a circle around the house, or a U around the house, and it's a one-way movement. But the driveway to the south would be eliminated. There would be a full movement with the driveway to the north that would go into the parking lot that would be toward the side and the rear of the property. Again, there is an entrance to the front, but the majority of the main entrance would be to the back. There would be 11 parking spaces. And then we'll go on to the next slide. You can see the architectural drawings for the house. The proposed construction would be a similar style to the existing residence, trying to keep the same roof lines and same height. So from 8 Mile Road, which was important in 2006, it remains the appearance of a residential structure, even though it's used as an office, and it serves as that transition from the more intense retail uses on Beachmont to as you go farther into the residential area on 8 Mile Road. There is a variance that is being requested for the parking lot. They're showing the proposal is a 0 setback. And again, this is the property line, and this is the access drive to the shopping center. Although it's used for commercial purposes, it is zoned residence, so the zoning resolution does require 10-foot setback, and that is a variance they're requesting to go to the property line. So these are some of the site photos. This is looking south on 8 Mile Road at the front of the office. And again, this is the other property that was included in the original zone change, and it's still being used as a single-family residence. This is looking to the east across 8 Mile. Again, you can see the housing stock in the area and the character of the area. This is looking generally to the north, to the northwest at the parking lot, or at the access drive to get to the parking lot for the crossings of Anderson. There is a privacy fence, and we believe the privacy fence actually belongs to the shopping center. That was required to be put there when the shopping center went in. The agency reports, the county engineer, there is a revocable agreement that was part of the 2006 rezoning. They were required to dedicate 40 feet of right-of-way, and there was an additional 10 feet that was required to be dedicated if or when 8 Mile were to be improved. So that agreement remains and would remain with this substantial modification. Their sign is also considered in the right-of-way, and there is a revocable agreement for their sign. That would also stay the same, and they are requesting approval to move their sign closer to the new driveway. You can see the other reports. There were no other objections. Detention may be needed. And there were no objections from the other agencies. When you go through the findings with the zoning resolution, again, they are requesting one variance, and that is for the parking lot to the residential zoned. And then in your staff report, we put the original approving resolution from 2006 first with the variance that was granted in 2006. Then we put first were the conditions recommended by the regional planning, and then the second list of conditions were from the zoning commission, which consolidated regional planning. So in your staff report, we went through and put in parentheses where this development is compliant with the original resolution or not. So I just wanted to touch on a few. Number 2 was that the parking be out of the front yard and 30 feet back. And also that the 2 driveways were to be consolidated. This was one of the conditions. They are in direct conflict because of the nature of their development versus the property to the south. There's no way that they can consolidate driveways into one driveway. So they are requesting to eliminate the driveway between the 2 existing houses and consolidate into one. The parking is still in the side and the rear yard area. Number 3 was to refers to the square footage that was approved in 2006. Obviously, there's a change to that. Number 4 was that, number 6, be clarified that the landscape streetscape buffer be modified, and we'll get into landscaping here shortly. Number 8 was, again, referring to driveways, and it also discuss the possibility of the expansion and what would happen if the building were to be expanded. And this is on page 4 of the staff report. But number 8, this talked about joint access for both properties. And then finally, a future redevelopment or major expansion 50% or more occurs on the northern site, then any office access shall be shared one driveway, which cannot be at this point. At such time of redevelopment, the northernmost driveway shall be removed or possibly reconfigured into the access drive. So this was a point of discussion at regional planning, and regional planning did recommend that a condition be placed that this be done in easement format. It's shown on the site plan. This area right here, up to the 0 lot line, they are showing this on the site plan and noting that possible future connection in lieu of having a joint driveway, to share in between 2 properties. This was an idea to consolidate driveways on 8 Mile. The Regional Planning Commission recommended that be put on an easement, and staff is recommending that too. The applicant submitted a letter that they prefer to show it just on the site plan and not actually record an easement as such. And then finally, number 9 references the impervious surface, and obviously they're adding impervious surface. As far as the applicable plans, we look to the Anderson Trails plan, and they are proposing, there's a sidewalk on 8 Mile already across this property, and they are proposing a striped area, expanding their driveway to 24 feet versus 20 feet, and having that extra 4 feet striped as the pedestrian connection from the sidewalk along the street to their front door. If this is done, then that is consistent with the Trails plan. With the Anderson plan, it is consistent with the transportation element, the economic development element, and then also with the recently adopted design guidelines. The features of this proposal are consistent with the recommendations in the design guidelines. As far as residential, character and the architecture, maintaining a residential fill and roof line, also moving the parking to the side and the rear so that it's out of the front yard area, and then also the pedestrian connections. So based on this, staff recommends approval to the modification based on the following, with the following conditions. And some of these have been consolidated with regional planning, or staff is recommending that some of the regional planning commission conditions be eliminated. And there was a typo in item number 5 in your staff report, and we modified it on the PowerPoint. But the landscape plan What is required is that there is a buffer, a streetscape buffer between the parking lot and 8 Mile Road, which is shown on their landscape plan, and then also that the southern end of their parking be screened to the residents to the south. So that is this area here. This area here is screened by the garage. This is screened by the building and the addition. So the areas that are required to be landscaped are this area here that has frontage on 8 Mile, and this area here that is screening from the residents' use to the south. So that was a typo in the staff report. And then there is one variance again and findings that support approving the variance. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Questions at this time? Ben? Questions? No. Harry, any questions?
I have one question. Has it been studied with the new sign location for visibility to ingress, egress from?
Yes, that particular area would meet our requirements. We do require a site triangle, that the sign not be located within that site triangle. As far as the distance from the roadway, it's set back. It's still within that extra right-of-way, but it's in line with where their existing sign is now.
So it falls without the outside of that site triangle?
Yes.
I do have one.
Yeah, go
Is
ahead.
the sign going to remain the same and just moved?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else, Harry? Good. This time, the applicants welcome to come up and present and make comments.
My name is Cynthia Williams. I'm the architect for the project, and thank you all for considering our project so carefully. It's a good process to go through. I would like to ask you to reconsider condition number 7. Condition number 7 states that the vehicular connection to the property to the north be preserved in the form of an easement. And it is our feeling that preserving this in the form of an easement isn't really necessary, because we clearly indicate on the site plan the location where that would occur if and when it becomes necessary to do it. So any future development would require coming before this commission anyway, and so we think that it's sufficient to have the note on the plan and does not need to be recorded in the form of an easement. It also seems to me that it is slightly unfair because it does not involve the adjacent property owner. This is simply an easement that we're granting, but there's no reciprocal agreement from the adjacent property owner. So it seems as if it only benefits them, it doesn't really benefit us. We have access to 8 Mile. We have no need for the access drive, although they could drive, if they chose to, if there was an easement, they would then be able to use our driveway. So it seems like it benefits them, but it doesn't really benefit us. So it seems somewhat unfair. And we have made, by putting the note on the plan, we have complied with your guidelines first of all, we're reducing the number of driveways on 8 Mile by eliminating one of the driveways, and we are providing that in the future we will be able to connect simply by removing 2 parking spaces and paving right up to the access drive. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of the commission of the applicant at this time?
I have just a couple.
Yes.
In terms of the materials for the addition, a small copy and what the magnet.
Yeah, sure. Wood siding. Wood siding, or it may be hardy plank, something like that, but it's going to look traditional.
And the shingles, are they dimensional or?
They are dimensional, yes. Asphalt fiberglass shingles.
And then with regards to the comment from Public Works concerning detention, have you guys looked at that?
We will do those calculations. My preliminary calculations, it wasn't necessary, but we'll submit all of that documentation.
I'm thinking, just looking at the rough topo, they're probably southwest corner it would go that way anyway, and you're
Right.
not showing anything in that location, so you would just do a basin there
Right.
if you had to.
Is that all? Harry?
No, but I have the same feeling as the applicant does about the easement.
Okay,
No.
thank you. Jonathan?
Is there any changes proposed to the 8-mile facade? Because that's not really
No.
reflected on the drawings.
No, we are contemplating a couple of skylights, but they would be within the roof plane. So, no. The entire addition is behind the current house.
So the coloration will be a continuation of the existing?
Well, the existing house is brick with, it does have some vinyl siding, which is an off-white. So yes, the colors will match, absolutely. We want it to look like one building.
Oh, yeah, that snow's not there in July.
Just one addition, so you're not going to light that parking area then?
We do have a light on the existing detached garage on the side of the building, yes.
But there's not going to be any, you're not going to put any freestanding fixtures in?
No, we don't plan to at this time, no.
Other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to comment? Sure.
Hi there. I'm Kim Wiest. I'm the one everyone's talking about, and it's really weird. So I just wanted to first say thank you very much. I also wanted to obviously concur with what Cynthia had to say and just bring up it doesn't make sense in my marketing brain for the easement in relationship to, my fear is our folks, if something does work that the easement is granted and you can go in and out, I see people when we're sitting outside eating lunch that can't pull out of the shopping center, and I see them then coming into our driveway, and now it's our driveway and the shopping center driveway and the original Pancake House, and that just kind of feels a little crazy in my brain. So I'd like you to consider not having that be. We certainly want to work with the township and our fellow residents as we need to in the future, and I appreciate this opportunity, and we like working in Anderson, so that's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. This time, we'll consider comments, but we'll close the public hearing. There being no other comments, and Jonathan, we'll start at the end. Any comments, thoughts on this case?
No comments. I sort of agree with the easement. You know, they are in close proximity, that would probably not really need to be an easement if it's denoted on the plan as a future potential.
Okay. Harry?
I feel the same way.
All
That's
right.
all the comments I have.
Okay. And anything additional for the zoning commission?
I guess just maybe more of a question for staff.
Sure.
Paul, is the recommendation, I mean, obviously we try to connect wherever we can connect, and then you're a huge proponent of that. In this particular instance, other than our general requirements for co-connection, I'll say, was there any other reason why staff felt it was warranted in this location?
Warranted either in this location, when we met with the applicants originally and discussed, you know, the original conditions versus which should be carried over with this, you know, the original intent was to consolidate the three. There were two for this property and one for this property. So the original intent was to have one shared driveway. We believe that if, you know, this driveway never happened, it would make sense to come off of this. Now that you know, this is not going to happen, and most likely in the future, if this does redevelop as an office, it'll be much smaller just because of the width of the lot. It makes more sense to have this connection if this connection isn't there. And so, you know, I think when we met with the applicant, that's our desire, that if this does go away, there is a connection here, and it does make sense, you know, if to allow for cross-access. That's the main key. It wasn't necessarily to share parking, it wasn't to provide for a cut-through, that's not the intent either. It's just to provide alternate access to this property and to eliminate a curb cut on 8 Mile Road.
Okay.
But at that point, it'd be more of an egress, easement rather than ingress egress. Allowing this property to egress onto the adjacent property. Right.
See, I have a real problem with that. I'm, with the original pancake, there now, and if you've ever seen those people, I mean, well, why would somebody want to give an easement or going in and out of there? I mean, you got to have landscaping in the front. And the only place that they're going to be able to go to is right to that parking lot, and then come out that driveway. And you're making it a circle driveway again, which you have right now. And I'd rather just see it on paper than us make a determination that it has to be done completely right now. I mean, as far as I know, the original Pancake House could go out of business tomorrow. I mean, I don't know. I mean, God help they did, because it's a good place to eat. But,
Thank you, Harry. Any other comments? So I'll entertain a motion.
well, I'd like to make a motion, a recommendation to the Board of Trustees that on Henderson Case 2-2014, that we recommend this be accepted, except for the easement being made permanent and just being made on, noted on the drawing. Am I close?
Okay, is that motion clear to staff?
And there's a variance request.
Will include the variance.
And to include the variance.
And approve of the variance request for the setback for the parking area? Okay.
And the other, there was a correction on the PowerPoint to number 5, so if you were in agreement with that.
Okay. Good. Second on that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and second to have roll call?
Mr. Gothard?
Yes.
Mr. Heskamp?
Yes.
Ms. McBride?
Yes.
Mr. Manchin?
Yes. Thank you. Although that's the last piece of business before the commission tonight, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor, aye.
All right.
Opposed? Thank you.